Let us go back to Kathleen Hayes and Bill Poole, the former president of the St. Louis Fed. Kathleen?
Mark, thanks so much. And Bill, I want to switch gears. I was talking about how the bond market has seemed maybe somewhat skeptical of what the Fed's doing, maybe Ben Bernanke in particular. We know on Capitol Hill tomorrow, Bernanke is going to face very tough questions about what really happened with Bank of America and the Merrill deal. What is your take on what this means for the Fed chairman up to this point?
Well, I don't have any specific knowledge about what that argument discussion is all about. I will say that the Fed's credit activities have unavoidably enmeshed it in political disputes that the Fed historically has tried to stay out of. And I think it'll be important for the Fed to extract itself from all of these credit operations as soon as it possibly can.
The Fed has portrayed this as, look, somebody needed to step up. We had to do this. Everybody turned their eyes to the Fed. I mean, Ben Bernanke has as much as said that publicly. But you say that by doing these credit programs, they've enmeshed themselves in politics.
And they have. They have. There's no reason why these programs, now moving on from the Merrill case, which I really don't know anything about, but if you take the mortgage-backed security purchase program, there's no reason why that shouldn't have been done through the Treasury. Congress should have authorized that program, as with other federal credit programs. It was very convenient for Congress to pass the buck to the Federal Reserve because Congress didn't want the debate and didn't want the responsibility of defending issuance of Treasury bonds to pay for the cost of it. So the Fed did it, but that doesn't mean it was a wise thing for the Fed to do. I believe it was the congressional responsibility to step up and make that decision, not for the Federal Reserve to do it on its own.
And of course, there's also the question, maybe it won't come up in this hearing, but it's the big one. Does the Fed become the Uber regulator, the systemic risk regulator in this reformed financial system? Right. Others say, no, that doesn't make any sense. The Fed blew it as a bank regulator. The last thing you want to do is give them more power.
No, I think the issue there is not so much where the power of the systemic regulator would reside, whether it goes to the Fed or some other agency. I think the whole idea of a systemic risk regulator is very unwise. And I challenge anybody to come up with a set of clear principles to determine which firms would be covered and which firms would not. It is a very serious matter when you give discretion to any federal agency to seize a firm, essentially put it into a resolution process outside of normal bankruptcy procedures. So I believe that that would be a very poor idea, and what will happen is that the companies that believe that they might be covered by such authority will get deeply into the political process to try to protect themselves. So it's going to be a mess if we go that direction. It draws the wrong conclusion from the AIG experience.
What's the right conclusion to draw from AIG in particular, and more broadly from the financial crisis we just went through?
Well, let me take AIG first. AIG got into its pickle because of the derivatives contracts, the credit default swaps. And that, in turn, was a consequence of the fact that you had the market custom that AAA-rated companies did not have to post collateral against their positions. What ought to be done, and in part this will help, that's already in the works, is to establish a futures market, a trading floor for those through an institution that will require margin as a standard operating procedure. But the other thing that could be done, the banking regulators, I believe, have the authority to require that all banks require collateral of their counterparties, whether they're AAA risks or not. And that would have cut short the accumulation of those problems at AIG if AIG had to post collateral from the get-go.
Should Ben Bernanke get a second term?
I think that that's obviously a political question. It is natural for a president to want to appoint a person from his own party. On the other hand, there is a lot of precedent for presidents to continue in office chairmen that have performed well. And so that's the nature of the discussion that will take place within the administration.
Yes or no? Would you reappoint him?
Would I reappoint him? Oh, I think so, but I think I would want to find a way to exit the Fed's credit operations as a part of that reappointment process.
Bill Poole, thanks so much. Bill, former president of the St. Louis Fed Bank and a Bloomberg contributor. Mark, back to you.
Kathleen, Mr. Poole, thanks.